Hello and welcome to the Kongversation Mini. I'm Hyle Russell.
And I'm Cameron Reigle.
And Cameron, we're finally doing the episode we were going to do 2 weeks ago before the Super Mario Brothers movie trailer dropped in our laps and Swanky Kong dropped in our laps and Kitty Kong and the whole gang that we didn't expect to talk about. So we're addressing some of the recent changes to Mario Kart Tour. Now, Mario Kart Tour, of course, has been a controversial game, I would say, within the broader Nintendo community, the Mario Kart fandom for sure, and also just Donkey Kong fandom and you know, the DKU.
I mean,
clubhouse.
Just us two as individuals have kind of explored the entire spectrum of opinions on this game.
Right. If you actually go back and begin the journey of the Kongversation talking about Mario Kart Tour, it starts off very negative, very grouchy, and eventually we kind of turn the corner. We power slid, or I guess they just call it drifting now. But we eventually, you know, came around the bend and learned to love this game for what it is. And as I feel like I have to preface every discussion we have about Mario Kart Tour, you know, it's not a substitute for a console Mario Kart or even a classic handheld Mario Kart. What it is something a little bit different, and it has a different flow to it. Once you kind of get on the wavelength of it, it becomes quite charming in its own right. And for me, and I think for you, Cameron, too, because we are the DK Vine staffers who I think are the most involved with Mario Kart Tour at this point. It's funny because since I finally discovered my mojo with this game, discovered what I actually find endearing about it, you know, I've talked about this with Gibbon, I've talked about it with Jeff, and I've talked about it with you, and it just feels like the DK Vine staffer I talk about it the most with and who has the most involvement with it ebbs and flows. And right now it's you, Cameron. David also plays it, but yeah, it's funny because I start my mornings with Mario Kart Tour. It's a good way to sort of get my head into the DKU space, right? Like before I start any DK Vine work, before I'm like, oh, I have to edit a podcast or I have to stream or I have to do news articles and I have to do shit posts on social media. It's a good way to sort of get my head in with Donkey Kong and friends. And I do the quick, you know, daily challenge race and, you know, maybe do a couple other things depending on if it's the beginning of a new tour or not. But, you know, it's just a good way to kind of start and end my day. And, you know, I'm married, so a lot of times if I'm just on the couch watching something with my wife, I'll pull out my phone and I'll just play Mario Kart Tour, you know, for a bit. And it's just a good way to kind of carry around the Kongs in my pocket. So
yeah. Because my sleep schedule is an absolute disaster, my habit has usually been right before bed, log on to Mario Kart Tour at 2 a.m. right as it rolls around to the new day.
Yeah. And
just play the new, or even if I just wake up in the middle of the night, I'm like, yeah, I can do it.
Yeah.
It's because that way I don't forget, because when I actually did finally get into Mario Kart Tour, I'd have the habit of forgetting to do the daily thing, and you know, you get a reward every day for doing it, and doing it every single day consecutively nets you a blue version of whatever the celebratory badge is. And several weeks I would always find myself 1 day short, because there would always be just one day where it was out of my mind.
Yeah. See, it's part of my routine, brushing my teeth. It's just in my bathroom routine. So I'm like, oh yeah, brush my teeth, use mouthwash, maybe shave, play the daily challenge in Mario Kart Tour.
Yeah. And I've also kind of figured out, because I've kept up with the game as long as I have, and I can tell who among my friends has still kept up with the game just because I'll know which people consistently trade coins back and forth with me.
Yes. Yeah.
I've kind of figured out, like, the pool of daily challenges is always from, like, every other tour on the list, or every other cup on the list, so I know which ones to maximize my time with in my spare time and which ones to just do as the challenges roll themselves out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've kind of, like, figured out the game's own systems as I've spent more time with it.
And if it skips a certain race in the daily challenge, you know that's going to be the ranked cup coming up next. But yeah, I mean, it's just a fun little time waster. It's not a deep, thought-provoking game, but it's fun to like score the big like combos and point tallies. It's a game about points more than it is about racing. It's doing tricks off the ramps and whatnot.
As you said, you find more enjoyment the more you can cast aside how much you wish a lot of this was in a console Mario Kart.
Yeah.
And honestly, a lot of the difference in the feel has been more pronounced ever since they started putting tour tracks in Mario Kart 8, and you get to feel directly how differently the same parts can be used.
Yeah, honestly, like, before we get into the changes, I will say it's kind of ruined my skill set with Mario Kart, because when I try to jump into Mario Kart 8 Deluxe now, I'm just like, oh wait, I can drive off the track? Oh, no. Yeah. I'm not just automatically collecting item boxes.
Oh, I have to hold this behind me. It doesn't just auto-drag the item and shield me.
Yeah, so it would be cool if they, like, in Mario Kart 9, if that ever comes to fruition, if they add a like, tour mode where you could do, like, the more trick-based automated kind of driving.
I've like always frowned on console Mario Karts having like kind of a scoring system that had anything to do with what place you came in. But I would love a like combo system the way Tour does. It's really satisfying.
It is satisfying, and I guess the same way the Tony Hawk games were satisfying. I never played them, but I kind of sense it's a similar kind of mechanic. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm just talking out of my ass out of sheer ignorance, as I usually do. But anyway, yeah, I said it was controversial, and a big part of the reason why Mario Kart Tour has been so controversial, aside from not playing like traditional Mario Kart, is it reveled in the gacha mechanics of a lot of these mobile games, where it could become a massive cash sink if you were willing to spend real, actual currency in the game, because whenever they would add new cosmetics, be they drivers or karts or gliders, you know, oh, here's what we're adding to Mario Kart Tour for this upcoming tour, and a tour is 2 weeks, around 14 days. So if you really want to get a specific character, like say they added Charge and Chuck last year, and you're like, ooh, Charge and Chuck, that's fun. Like I might want to have him on my roster. The only way to get Charge and Chuck would be to successfully pull him in the pipe, and you fire the pipes, and you would have to spend rubies, which are the in-game currency, which you could earn through various tasks, but you can also just buy them using real money. Yeah. And then it becomes just a game of gambling, because you have maybe like a 1 in 50 chance of pulling Charge and Chuck, or whatever the character is.
You can definitely earn quite a few rubies just playing the game for free normally, but there is a ceiling you will hit. Like, just you can only get so many in a week, or during a single tour, really.
Yeah.
I'd know that from experience, because when I got back into Tour, and this is kind of my rule for any kind of mobile gacha thing I engage with, is that like I do not spend real money on it, and the second I feel inclined, I know I need to stop, no matter what it is. And I've still yet to spend any money on Mario Kart Tour. I got real close recently when the Rambi Rider came back, but
yeah, we'll talk about the Rambi Rider in just a bit, because I have a story to tell there. But
all that to say, like, the game is perfectly playable without spending a cent on it, but when it got started, especially, the gacha mechanics were pretty controversial, and I think in the early days were a lot worse than most games of this flavor, really.
Yeah. And then to add insult to injury, they would also occasionally have characters you could just buy outright in like this package deal with rubies or what have you, and maybe a cart or something, but it'd be like $39.99 to get this little number.
It like motivated that Twitter account cheaper than Diddy.
Right. And by the time I was religiously playing this game, I was able to just get Diddy in the like daily select shop where you just spend in-game coins. Dixie Kong, that is how I actually obtained Dixie Kong. I spent $39.99 on Dixie Kong because I desperately needed Dixie Kong in this game. And do I regret that? Honestly, no, because whatever. I mean, I'm Mr. Donkey Kong. I'm, the DKU guy, so it's a story to tell, right? It was more than just getting Dixie Kong and Mario Kart Tour. I can say I spent $40 on Dixie Kong and Mario Kart Tour. So I don't regret it, even though, of course, Dixie Kong has been available for free several times since I made that decision.
Yeah, I'd say even though we've had the mysterious cryptid that is the Rambi Rider, generally characters in Mario Kart Tour, so long as you don't care when you get them, they will generally get easier to get over time. There will be more alternative ways. You'll build up more currency to spend on them. Yeah. And certainly true more than ever at this point. And I think all of the Kongs at this point have been fairly well attainable.
Yeah, it was rough going when I first got my new phone and reinstalled Mario Kart Tour and was kind of playing it because I had to play as like Koopalings, and it was just like, oh, when am I gonna get Donkey Kong? When am I gonna get Diddy Kong?
Yeah, we've said this before, but Mario Kart Tour is a game that knows which characters people want to play as because it will front load everything with babies
and
Koopalings, and Koopas.
Yeah. So anyway, the big changes in Mario Kart Tour actually started back in March when they added Miis to the game. And by the way, I see Josh, the Geek Critique Wallen, is in the live stream chat. We're streaming this for patrons right now. And Josh is talking about our thumbnail for this episode, which you can see if you're listening on YouTube or SoundCloud. Josh says, the person in the thumbnail image looks like Commander Keen. I don't know that reference.
I know enough to say that it means your Mii is a lot pastier white than yourself.
Well, that's my Mii. That is my Mii in Mario Kart Tour, Josh. And you could import your Miis from your Nintendo account and use them in Mario Kart Tour. And with this came Mii racing suits, which is actually where they first started toying with the notion of ditching the gacha system completely, because these were available, drumroll please, a la carte. I told you I was going to do that. But it's they were in a Mii outfit shop, right? And like every tour, every 14 days, you've got a slightly different selection, but these come and go with great frequency. Like if you miss a particular outfit you want to put your Mii in, it's going to come back around again. And
it's kind of become a marquee feature of the game ever since the update that added Miis is just constantly updating this lineup of Mii costumes you can buy. And when it started, I was in the habit of buying a Mii costume every week, even though I don't really care about Mii costumes, because I got into this mindset of, well, everything that is added in a tour generally performs well on a good amount of the tour tracks. And this is something I can spend rubies on that I will definitely get every time I spend rubies on it. Right. And I won't just get the cheap cart 10 times in a row.
Yeah. Yeah. So I, of course, got the Donkey Kong Mii racing suit right away. It was one of the first available. And, these are available for 100 rubies a pop. Now you can get them discounted for 70 if it's on sale, which usually the new costumes are if there's a particular like spotlight going on. Like, for example, we're recording this while it's still the Peach versus Bowser tour. So you can get the Peach or Bowser Mii racing suits for 70 rubies instead of 100.
Yeah. In my version, Rocky Wrench is also, the Mii suit is also on sale.
Rocky Wrench,
so
right?
I guess that's new.
Yeah, that's the newest one. And, it's great because, I only generally play as Donkey Kong characters in this, except for the daily challenge, which auto selects the character for you. So this was like, oh, okay, well, this counts, right? Because not only am I using the Donkey Kong Mii racing suit, but I'm using it as me, i.e. the character you, who, of course, in the DKU canon first appeared in It's Mr. Pants as the contestant on Mr. Pants' puzzle game. And so I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, sure. It's the character you, i.e. me, in the Donkey Kong Mii racing suit. But all of these new costumes that keep coming with every tour, it's been very advantageous for me because me being me, the actual me, not the in-game you, i.e. me. It's been great because since you is a actual DKU character from a certain point of view, I feel completely free to just use my me in whatever Mii racing suit would be the most advantageous, especially in the ranked tours, the ranked cups, I mean. So you can get, level up those Mii racing suits and perform better in the ranked cups, and then you can increase your rank in the game. So I went from unable to break through from the upper 30s to now I think I'm rank 56 now in the ranking system, which of course the higher you go in leveling up your rank, which can drop too if you finish below the 5th place in any ranked cup, then you're going to go down a rank. But the more you get, the more is available in the, I guess the tier shop. It's tiers. Yeah. But
yeah, I've hit a ceiling generally where I bounce between 35 and 36, which I think is, little bit being a free-to-play player, little bit being a late adopter to the game, and also a little bit I don't perform all that well or care to replay the same cup over and over.
I've gotten better at the game. I'm even better in multiplayer now. I can usually eke out one win out of 3 races, which doesn't sound great, but multiplayer is hard.
Yeah, it definitely is. Though this latest update, I mean, ever since they retooled the currency system, I think things have gotten a little bit. It's a little bit better, a little bit more likely to have an even playing field because it offers a bit more avenues to level that playing field.
Yeah. Also, in March, along with this, they also boosted the levels for the characters. So before they were maxed out at level 7, now you can go up to level 8. And once you get to level 8, the characters or karts or gliders, they have this shiny gleam to them on the menus, which is really fun. And of course, my main goal being, me being the guy who, got a Blastoise up to level 100 in the grasses outside of Pallet Town in Pokemon Red, I had to get all my Kongs maxed out. So that's, the first thing I concentrated on is getting all of them to level 8, trying to get all the karts that they drive in, Kong-based karts to level 8, as well as the gliders I use. So, it's fun if you care about maxing out your stats for the characters you really want to root for.
So, why don't we talk about the main thing that this giant upheaval altered?
Yeah, so like I said, they tested the waters back in March, but it was this last October that they finally removed the gacha mechanics almost entirely. Gacha-ectomy. It came in October, and they announced they were going to do this, and I don't think it really hit how much it was going to fundamentally alter how you interact with everything at first. I read this news and I was like, this sounds good, but does this really mean what I think it means?
It's something that when I heard this news, I'm kind of thinking, this sounds like it makes the game. It makes it way harder for the game to make money out of saps like me.
Right.
Does this mean the game is like sunsetting soon? Or
yeah.
It's just a weird. It's just a thing I couldn't wrap my head around. Or like, are they going to? Okay, yeah, they're changing how this fundamentally works. So are they going to make existing systems in the game a lot worse? So you have to invest more, and are thus more likely to just buy rubies directly with cash.
Yeah, they have opened up more revenue streams since they did this. Like, there are more premium challenges you can buy into, which get you more like rubies and like tickets you can use to rank up, level up karts and characters.
I guess we should say, for those who don't know, fundamentally the biggest difference in this update was that the randomized tour pipe that you would pull on like a gachapon machine to get a character, cart, or glider from a random pool that would slowly dwindle. Mm-hmm. With a guarantee you'd get a certain character or cart or glider before the pipe was emptied, which would mean spending an obscene amount of rupees on it, but it would mean that like there was always like a limit to your sunk cost in it. That was entirely gutted and instead replaced with just a very standard shop, similar to kind of a mix of both the Mii costume shop and the standard coin shop. Everything is you get what you see is what you get. You pay a certain amount of rubies, generally 150 for a driver, 100 for a cart or a glider, and you just get that.
Right. Yeah, and they have like a spotlight shop where a particular character or a particular cart is kind of locked in for the week. So like for 7 days, you're going to be able to purchase this particular character or this particular cart in the in the spotlight shop. But underneath that are the daily spotlights, which then these generally take from the same pool of around I don't even know, like maybe 30 like items throughout the tour. And so you won't necessarily encounter them every day, but they'll probably pop back around again before the tour is over. And so then you can just choose like, hey, yeah, there's that variant of Mario that I've really been wanting. Oh, I have enough rubies for it. I'm going to go ahead and buy him. And then there's no risk. There's no chance involved. You are just doing a very clean exchange. And overall, I have been quite pleased with this because I feel like, well, definitely I'm getting far less than I used to, because, before it would just be a game of chance and you would you'd shoot for some character or cart or glider, and you might be getting others you weren't necessarily wanting, but you were still getting them. Now you can just wait it out, and you're like, well, I don't really want to waste my rubies on that. It looks cool, but I really want this particular thing to come back around.
My rule generally when in the old system was, if there was something that I absolutely strongly wanted, I would say, okay, the math works out. I need a minimum of 250 rubies on me to stand a 50-50 shot of getting this.
Yeah.
Because that'll empty exactly half the pipe.
Yeah.
And I have to be comfortable with spending that much and still maybe not getting the thing I want. This, when, if, on the other hand, like 150 rubies for Donkey Kong Jr., that is a lot more than the minimum I would have to spend to have a chance of getting a character I want in a randomized pipe. But the for sure chance is a hell of a lot cheaper.
Right, exactly. And so far, like, I'm pleased with this. It definitely has removed a lot of the stress from the game, and it's always fun when a new tour starts to see what it's going to draw from the pool, like what karts, what characters, what gliders might be coming back around again. And it definitely is this feeling of like, oh, I can finally get exactly what I want. And in addition to all of that, they also went back and added some karts that haven't been in rotation since, at very least, I've started really playing the game early 2021, like the Chrome DK, which is like the silver DK Jumbo. It's back in the game, and you can get it just from the random pipes that still utilize the kind of gacha mechanic, but this time they're for completing various tasks, like the challenges, like the daily challenge, or in the tour gifts.
Using a currency that I believe there's no actual way to buy with real money.
Yeah, and you can also find it sometimes in the Daily Selects coin shop, but it's like, oh yeah, the silver DK Jumbo, sweet, I want that to be what Cranky drives eventually, if Cranky ever gets in the game. But the other big addition on October, of course, they added battle mode for the very first time in Mario Kart Tour, which you're like, how does battle mode work in a game like Mario Kart Tour? It works.
Yeah, how do you do this with an auto accelerate was my big concern. The answer is okay.
It works okay, yeah. You don't have exactly the same precision control as you would in the console games, but
there's also definitely a conscious choice made with all the battle courses that are in the game are very circular in nature.
Yeah.
So you're not playing block forward on your phone. I'm sorry to say.
Right. But yeah, the balloon battles they're fun enough. I generally avoid them unless I'm just clearing out a cup, just because, you know, they're a little bit more time consuming than the standard Mario Kart Tour races, which of course are 2 laps. And here you only have 2 balloons as opposed to 3. But the big, I think, addition to this is it's a new collectible you can get in the game. You can unlock balloon designs for your characters to drive around in. And included in those balloon designs are balloons with Donkey and Diddy Kong, little emblems on the balloons. So,
yeah, unfortunately, not just shaped like them, like DKC balloons.
Right. They do have shaped balloons. Like they added a boo, or they added like pumpkins, and I think there's a boo. They added those around Halloween. Star, yeah. But yeah, with Donkey Kong, you can purchase that one in the token shop during the Animal Tour, which was kind of a big, like, quiet Donkey Kong related tour they did back a couple weeks ago. And Diddy is unlocked through the new gacha pipes you can pull by getting multiplayer like rewards. You build up like points in multiplayer, and you can like fire off these pipes, and you get the balloon designs through there. Diddy is very frustratingly for me one of the few balloon designs I've not unlocked, and it's driving me crazy because of course it's the one I want the most. And I've unlocked most of them except for a handful, including Diddy. And I'm like, come on, Mario Kart Tour.
Yeah, I don't have them either.
Yeah, I did, of course, buy Donkey Kong with the tokens, and I have been using him, you know, in Diddy's place. So it's always fun to drive around as Donkey Kong Jr. in Balloon Battle with the Donkey Kong balloons, because it's almost like I'm saying, yeah, they're the same. What are you going to do about it? You gonna try to pop my balloons? No, you don't. So, yeah, Balloon Battle was, of course, the other big addition to the October update. And I think the most robust addition to the game since then. Now, November did have the aforementioned Animal Tour, which added 2 returning tracks from previous iterations of Mario Kart to the rotation, including DK Mountain from Mario Kart Double Dash. Now, admittedly, DK Mountain is not one of my favorite Donkey Kong tracks because of how it's just basically a Donkey Kong jungle through the prism of Mario, including like trees with faces and the big grumbly looking volcano. But you know, I'm glad it's there.
Yeah, I have like some associations with that particular track, not only because of its aesthetic isn't my favorite, but also it's from the specific era of Mario Kart I most associate with just getting bashed over and over and over again with items.
Right.
I think there's even a viral video of this set on this specific track of Daisy and Mario Kart Wii just getting hit with items over and over and over again and getting knocked off the final bridge.
It's like my turmoil playing Mario Kart Double Dash is documented on the DK Vine forum when I tried to do it all with just Donkey and Diddy in the DK Jumbo, which, by the way, I did, but it wasn't easy, and it came at great personal cost to my own mental health. So, yeah, it's not my favorite Mario Kart. It's not my favorite Donkey Kong track, but it's nice to have a certified Donkey Kong branded jungle in Mario Kart Tour, because the only Donkey Kong tracks in the game so far have been the ski resorts from DS and Wii.
And turns out, yeah, divorced from like the context that would give me some animosity toward it, it's pretty fun.
Yeah. And in the same, now this was the big like announcement for the Animal Tour, and it was included in the previews and stuff, and everyone's like, oh my god, is that DK Mountain? But quietly, they also added another track in the same tour that is often, at least from DK Vine's perspective, associated with Donkey Kong and as a Donkey Kong track. I'm talking Riverside Park from Mario Kart Super Circuit. And I know a lot of you who are like Wikipedia minded who are thinking, that's not a Donkey Kong track. It doesn't have Donkey Kong in its name. How can it be a Donkey Kong track? But I've always maintained that Riverside Park is a Donkey Kong track because it's playing off of DK's Jungle Parkway from off of Mario Kart 64. And it just feels like it's just part of the same ecosystem. It's part of the same, like, state park or whatever of Donkey Kong Island in the Congo jungle.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same mind because Super Circuit kind of stands out among the Mario Kart Pantheon post Super in that it doesn't have a dedicated Donkey Kong track, i.e. with Donkey Kong's name in it. But if you slap DK's name on this, there would be no question. He's prominent in like the image advertising this course. It is a very like tropical jungle aesthetic. Honestly, kind of even the music to me sounds like kind of an off-brand rendition of DK Island Swing.
Yeah.
A little bit. I would not be at all surprised if this was 100% meant to be a Donkey Kong track and they just didn't label it as such.
Sort of like how Dino Dino Jungle is basically a Diddy Kong track.
We know internally it's assigned to him, even though it doesn't brand it that way.
Yeah. So I was really happy to see this. Now, they completely redesigned it. Because Mario Kart Super Circuit was flat. I mean, it was flat like Super Mario Kart. So they added winding hills and you go through a cavern system now, and there's no way it can logically be the same track from Super Circuit. My headcanon is that I guess the park administrators on Donkey Kong Island actually moved the racetrack because it was an ecological hazard driving that close to the river.
In general, they've picked up this habit where my favorite tracks to see appear in Tour are tracks from Super Circuit, because they have across the board done this sort of fun reinvention of them in a 3D space opposed to what seems to often happen with the Super Mario Kart tracks where they remain flat largely.
Yeah.
Boo Lake was another one added recently, also has a lot of like variable depth, has an underwater section added to it. It's a lot of fun. The one concession I'll make with Riverside Park is probably owing to it being on designed for mobile phones, which have a ceiling on how elaborate they can be. The aesthetic is a lot more Mario-fied than the kind of like lavish and rendered for a GBA game take the original's backgrounds had.
Sure. And yeah, they added the dinosaur from Dino Dino Jungle to Riverside Park in like the trick variant of it. But whatever. Like, they could have just trucked him in, so it's fine.
And like I said, the music still sounds like slightly off-brand DK Island Swing.
Oh, sure. So. Also with the Animal Tour in November, though, we got finally the chance to obtain the Rambi Rider again, because we've talked about this, that the Rambi Rider has just been missing in Mario Kart Tour since at least I started religiously playing it back in early 2021. And it was just like, where's the Rambi Rider? And our theory was that there was some sort of error. Like there was a number in the wrong column that was preventing it from actually being in the rotation, because there's no reason the Rambi Rider shouldn't have been in rotation. It's a standard super card, like a mid-tier card.
The biggest tell was that the Rambi Runner, which is a variant of the Rambi Rider, but in like a chromed silver, was frequently reappearing.
Yes.
And like what? That kind of sets off the alarm bells. Like, why are you having this like higher end variant of this pretty standard card appearing constantly while the one it's based off of is persistently MIA?
So, and the Rambi Rider is still MIA, in like standard obtainable ways. It was in the Animal Tour as a tour gift, which I was like, fine, I'll take it. Just give me the damn Rambi Rider.
Which, it was a premium tour gift, so you had to be one of the people playing the game with a premium subscription.
Thankfully, I hadn't canceled it. So I was like, yes, Rambi Rider, please. They also added the gold Rambi Rider, the second high-end variant of the Rambi Rider. This time it's just the Rambi Rider just coated in gold, but it doesn't even look like gold. It looks more like bronze or just like, I don't know, like, slightly polished rust. I don't know. It doesn't really have the same effect as some of the other gold cards do.
Yeah, it is kind of like brown tinged a little bit. I've seen an image of it.
But I did reach out. I did file a help ticket with Mario Kart Tour on November 1st. And this, I said, in the description of the help ticket, this is what I said. I said, hello everyone at Mario Kart Tour headquarters. I'm a huge Donkey Kong fan. Parentheses, you have no idea. Who's been playing for nearly 2 years. Where's the Rambi Rider? Where did it go? It's the only supercart that never appears in the pipes or selects. I want to support Rambi whenever possible. Thank you for your time. And 8 days later, they responded to me and they said...
Did they say thank you for your interest in Rambi?
No, they didn't. They said, dear user, thank you for your inquiry and we apologize for the late response. We will share your feedback with the department in charge. Please note that we cannot promise your feedback to be reflected in the later updates. So that was from Tetsuya S., Nintendo Smart Device Customer Support. So here's hoping somebody in charge gets the message. But anyway. Looking out for all of you out there who might pick up Mario Kart Tour and want the Rambi Rider. But anyway, I guess that just leaves us with one question, Cameron. So all of these changes have been good. Since March, all of these changes have been actually great for Mario Kart Tour. It's really removed a lot of the icky feeling you get from playing it and supporting it. But the question is development for Mario Kart Tour, as you suggested earlier, isn't winding down. Is it sunsetting? Because aside from the new Mii racing suits that we still get every tour, and some new gold variants of karts, and some other like little things they've added, like, oh, here are sneaker karts. There really have been no new notable cosmetics added for months, especially no new characters. Like, it used to be we would get a new character every tour, even if it's just, oh, here is, Luigi with a big sausage. That's new. I think the last new one they sort of added was King Mario, just Mario dressed as a king. And they kind of quietly added that one because it happened right when Queen Elizabeth died. And I think it's just,
oh, jeez.
It was a terrible coincidence, but I think they were going to have a big rollout for it, and they were like, "Ugh, no, we're just gonna sneak that in there, and we're not going to address it whatsoever." But yeah, there really hasn't been anything new since the October update, and like I said, we got a few new karts here or there. We're still getting something, but nowhere near the level it used to be. So it definitely seems like they have shifted resources at the Nintendo mobile development team, and they're not really concentrating as much on adding new stuff to Tour. They're not abandoning it, but it's definitely not the same level.
And there's definitely still new content coming in the game, even if it's not character variants, because we are getting a steady supply of new tracks still. And I've done the math on this. I was under the impression, well, maybe if Tour is sunsetting, we're just gonna see exactly as many tracks as it'll take to get everything in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, the DLC booster course pass.
Right. And like we talked about that on a recent episode of the Kongversation, just the kind of interconnectivity between Tour and 8 Deluxe.
But at this point, I think that there are so many in Tour that they're going to have to leave something out. If that were the case.
Well, here's my thinking. I think Mario Kart Tour is pretty profitable for Nintendo. I don't think they're going to pull the plug on it. I definitely see that they're not focusing as much on it at the moment. But I think it would make sense to keep investing in it, especially if they can do this this kind of trading back and forth between it and the console iterations. Because when there does come the time for a Mario Kart 9, I think it would make sense to keep Mario Kart Tour functioning as sort of a testing ground for a lot of ideas. It's a way to keep Mario Kart fluid as a concept rather than starting from scratch with every new console. So whenever the Switch successor does get announced and does come out, and the question then becomes, okay, what's the Mario Kart game going to be? They're not just going to port 8 Deluxe again, but I think having Tour humming in the background affords them the opportunity to just keep testing out ideas. And if they like say, oh, that track would really work well in Mario Kart 9, then they might pull it from that. But I don't really know.
They can also perhaps see, which characters are people spending money to get in Tour. And
I don't necessarily think this is the end of the road as far as new character content. I predicted in our New Year's forecast at the end of last year that we would get Cranky Kong in Mario Kart Tour to tie into the Super Mario Brothers movie. Of course, the Super Mario Brothers movie was then delayed from this month to April of 2023. And I think we're going to see an uptick in Mario Kart Tour content around that time. I don't know if we're going to get Cranky Kong for sure, but I would be shocked if there wasn't a big push around that time.
Yeah. I wouldn't expect it to be branded to match the movie, but I could definitely see like, oh, coincidentally, the same month that the Mario movie is happening, here's Cranky, and here's that Donkey Kong track that happens to have the Golden Temple in it, kind of like that arena in the movie.
Yeah. Here's Foreman Spike at long last. All your favorites are here. It's possible. I think, of course, we are on the verge of the biggest marketing push for Mario that we've seen probably since the early 90s. So I think if nothing happens in Mario Kart Tour in April, then it might be safe to say, yeah, they're sunsetting it. Like it's still going to be available, but they're just not going to be cranking out entirely new content for it. They're going to do very lazy, like, new variants, like gold-colored karts.
And granted, part of the reason they might just be slowing down on characters is they've explored a lot of the options already.
Now, I hear a lot of complaints from Donkey Kong fans on social media where they say, we don't have really any Donkey Kong variants. There's Donkey Kong Jr., SNES, who, you could charitably say is a variant of Donkey Kong, depending on your point of view. But there are no, there's no, like, Spaceman, Diddy Kong, or Deep Sea Diver Dixie Kong.
It's so conspicuous at this point, I have to assume it's some kind of edict saying that's off the table.
It definitely is. Like, I know enough about the internal workings. I'm not saying like I'm that plugged in, but I know enough about it to say like, oh, it's definitely coming from the Donkey Kong brand managers, and they're saying like, no, you like, it's fine that Donkey Kong's in Mario Kart because that's tradition. It's fine that you can have Dixie and Funky even, but let's not go crazy here. We don't want to have Donkey Kong in all these ridiculous costumes right as we're getting ready to, basically relaunch the Donkey Kong brand as its own identity. And, let's keep it as clean as possible, please. Thank you. It, like you said, it's very conspicuous, and they have not been cautious about preserving the integrity of the other characters in this game.
No.
Like, we've seen Mario and Luigi in every ridiculous context. There's bus driver Waluigi. There's,
you want a horrifying Yoshi kangaroo hybrid? You got it.
Yeah, there's like Chippendale's Cowboy Wario. There's like just the gamut of ridiculous shit. It almost seems like a parody at some point. And again, we have fun with it because it is so absurd that it's just a well of jokes and memes that you can pull from. But yeah, there's nothing for Donkey Kong. And yeah, I would like, something crazy with Donkey Kong. I would like, X-ray vision Funky Kong for sure. But
I mean, we joke about these costume variants and how silly they get, but it's fun. The silliness is part of the fun. I would love to get DK and Diddy and Dixie and Funky in on all that.
Yeah, so I'm going to say we're not going to get any of that because we would have definitely gotten something by now. If it changes, then I will admit I was completely wrong, but it just doesn't seem like it's going to happen. Now, I will say Cranky Kong is still the best shot at getting another Donkey Kong character in the game. So if it happens, it's going to happen in April. If it doesn't happen in April, I don't see it ever happening. I think we've tapped out as far as Donkey Kong characters go. We might have like a Diddy Kong Mii costume at some point, or a Dixie Kong, or a Funky maybe. I would love that, but other than that, no, I think we would be at the end of the road with characters with Cranky, and all eyes, around the release of the Super Mario Brothers movie, if that's the case.
Yeah, pretty much that. I don't have... Cranky is definitely where the DK character pool ends, if we even get Cranky.
Yeah, and I think the only reason he's in the discussion is because of the movie. Now, I know what a lot of you are thinking, well, I saw Kiddy Kong driving a cart in the movie. I saw Swanky on the poster. What about that? I think they're going to be a little bit more conservative than Illumination.
We gotta put something in Mario Kart 9.
This has been a File 2 production.
Qué rico.